Hello, welcome to the stream. My name is Chef Jason St. Laurent, and I am the Provincial Technical Committee Chair for Skills Alberta for cooking. And we're going to be doing a demo for you today discussing the regional project being our main focus. I want to introduce my helper here.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Caron, and I am an Ed Lab Tech at NATE, and I'm also a part of the PTC committee with Skills in the culinary department.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your help today. So today, again, the main focus is just going to be the regional project. So I will say if you've got questions regarding the secondary provincial project or the national or anything like that, you can definitely ask it, maybe through email, through Becky, but we're going to try to stick today to the regional project and give you some good ideas, hopefully, and help inspire the teachers, you know, and basically just help you get ideas with the project and maybe what to do. I will say, kind of as a preamble, I did put my own menu together following the project. I went fairly simple, and I just want to showcase you know, the main cooking techniques with the chicken, the biscuit, but I've added my own variation to those items, obviously for creative flair, just to show you kind of what is possible. Obviously, there's a whole plethora of things that you can do with this, and I know some of you teachers will already have some great ideas about what you can do. So today, again, I'm basically just going to be talking a little more generally with regards to how to execute these items. First, I just kind of wanted to go over some key points regarding the project. I guess the biggest thing that I can probably say that we see in most competitions is competitors trying to do too much. They try to add in too many components, too complicated, and usually those are the competitors that get overwhelmed and have trouble finishing, have trouble with timing, and all those really, really important skills when you are trying to execute in competition. So I guess the biggest thing that you know, we talk about as a committee is keeping it simple. Really focusing on the cooking of the proteins, along with, you know, the vegetables and your starch, and just kind of trying to create, I guess, harmonious flavors with those things. And I will say 9 times out of 10, the winning competitors, or the top, you know, 3 competitors, are the ones that, again, execute those proteins properly without overcooking, and just, you know, really focus on those key flavors. And I think that's probably the biggest key. And, you know, fresh flavors, herb combinations, really looking at that par stock to kind of see what's there, what the options are, and then just kind of, again, putting those tasty flavors together. And I guess the biggest thing that even in culinary we see is seasoning. A lot of dishes look really nice, look really pretty. Even the proteins and components might be executed really, really well, but they lack seasoning. And so, you know, without proper seasoning, you don't get the flavors coming out like you probably intended, or your competitor probably intended. So as you're training your competitors, I really think that's an important piece that you have to help them with, is that seasoning. And how do we know things are seasoned properly? We're tasting. So we're tasting as we go, and we're layering our seasoning as we cook. So for example, if we are making a filling for the chicken, depending on what we're using, I'm using chorizo and white cheddar. So those are 2 kind of salty components, so taking that into account. But making sure you're also seasoning that a little bit, as well as seasoning the outside of the chicken. You've seasoned the sauce, you're seasoning the veg, so it all balances together without being hopefully over salty is the goal. As far as ingredients are concerned, regionally, we've definitely limited things a little bit to what you see in the provincial par stock. couple reasons for that. We know that a lot of schools don't have alcohol on hand, things like that. So these are things that are available provincially that aren't available on the regional par stock. So keep that in mind to have a look, even when you're planning your regional menu, to have a look at the provincial par stock so that you can kind of get a good idea of maybe things you can add if and when your competitor qualifies for provincials. So you definitely have a lot of other options on there. There's a few different vegetables. I know some of the spices are different, and then again the addition of the alcohols, which again can kind of open up some different options for your sauces, your derivative sauce for your velouté, and all those other things that you can kind of add into it to give it some creative flair. So if that's going to be a question, that kind of should answer that, why the par stocks aren't exactly the same. Biggest thing too, go through equipment. So regionally, competitors, if you look in the project, it says, equipment competitors must supply. Provincially, we do have shared equipment so you won't have to bring in things like food processor, hand blender, stand mixer, those types of pieces of equipment. But regionally, anything your competitor needs has to be brought in: pots, pans, fry pans, knives, peelers, all that kind of stuff. So really make sure you have a look through the equipment list to make sure that your competitor has everything they need without bringing too much. We can't stress that enough, that a lot of times competitors come with these massive bins full of stuff and they don't necessarily use it all. So I would say limit your competitor's equipment. Over the years, Skills Canada, so the national, has definitely put a focus on minimizing the equipment and focusing on those core skills and competencies that they're asking for and looking for. And I think provincially we like to do the same. You will look to, if you look ahead to the national projects, there are bin size constraints that we don't enforce provincially that you need to be cognizant of as well. So definitely look at those pieces of equipment. Really, your competitor should be showing up with pots, pans, bowls, knives, your own cooking utensils. But as far as power equipment, we've got everything provincially. So for the regional, you definitely still have to bring that stuff. Just going to touch on quick on uniform. So making sure your competitors have a white chef's jacket with no logo, no logo indicating the school that they're from, clean apron, the black or check or striped pants, proper footwear, side towels, all of that. Very, very important. Those are key marks when we talk uniform. Uniform organization, sanitation, and you look at the marks breakdown. So your kitchen mark, basically calculating 50% of your final evaluation mark in the competition, is just how you work in the kitchen, how you're presented, the equipment you're using. Are you using things properly? 50% of your score, your competitor's score, will be derived from that, and the other 50% from the food. So it's got quite a bit of a heavy weighting. So definitely, I don't call them gimme marks per se, because a competitor really has to be cognizant of these things. They don't just happen. The competitor has to make sure they're working clean. Excuse me. If you're not working on something on your cutting board, it shouldn't be out. It should be down below on your rack and roll or in your fridge. And just really watching those types of things, because those are the types of things that the kitchen judges in your regional are definitely going to be looking for, as well as obviously the provincial. But again, just focusing on that regional. Waste and organics. So in the regional competition, your competitor will see two different bins. They're going to see a waste bin, and they're going to see an organic waste bin. So obviously anything that's organic or compostable goes in that compost bin. The other one would be your blue towels. These are garbage. Anything plastic wrap, those types of things will end up in your waste bins. I didn't set up waste bins for myself. because 90% of what I'm going to be plating and showing you today is pre-prepped, just for the magic of TV and just to kind of speed things up. But I will be showing you some core skills today, main parts of that project that I think are really, really key. So I will be demoing live some of those things, and then show you some finished plates along with my menu, and just kind of give you some ideas, hopefully, for things that you can do with your competitor. I just wanted to touch on quick about the recipes. So the recipes provided in the package, in the project, are meant to be scaled up or down. So for today, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be demoing the biscuit recipe, and I'm doing the full recipe just to show you how much waste there is, so that you can kind of think, okay, if I need 4 biscuits, and as you're practicing, you're going to recalculate and figure out your yield. So figure out what you need for a final product to make those 4 biscuits, maybe with an extra or 2 extra, without having excessive waste. So you're going to see that today. I'm going to make a full recipe just to show you how much biscuit dough we end up with. It's a lot, because your competitor will be penalized for waste and having extra product, whether it's extra velouté left over, extra biscuit dough, I don't know, chicken, usable chicken products, things like that. Your competitor will be penalized for having extra product. So I wanted to show you that today, because I think that's a key piece. Because a lot of times we see that in competition, competitor makes a big bowl of something, and it's like, why did you make so much? Well, I followed the recipe. It does say in here, recipes should be scaled up or down. As far as the project, I'm just going to get into the actual, literally, the meat and potatoes about the project here, just to kind of go over some ideas before I show you what I did, and then I'll kind of start the cooking side of it. So competitors are asked to make a stuffed chicken breast main course, and that's supposed to include 1 starch minimum preparation, a minimum of 2 vegetable or fruit preparations, a velouté-based sauce that has to be turned into a derivative sauce of the competitor's choice. So those of you that don't necessarily know what a derivative sauce is, so if they're making a velouté sauce, which is one of the 5 mother sauces, they need to turn that into, I'm going to be doing a supreme sauce, which is a derivative sauce. Those are all listed in the PC book, so you can look up different derivatives. Feel free to take a derivative sauce, say a supreme sauce. You want to add mushrooms to that. Maybe it's not in the book like that. That's a great variation you can add into it. Maybe you're stuffing your chicken with mushroom. That might be a nice kind of addition. If you've got, mushroom in your stuffing, you've got a little bit of sauteed mushrooms in your sauce, kind of ties the two together. So really, really important that you definitely, pull from those things. A minimum of 1 functional garnish that is modern and complementary. So for my menu today, I'm just doing fried leeks. I'm doing something fairly simple. But lots of different options for garnish for your main course. For the dessert, so this project, when I saw it from the National, I was like, okay, this is a little bit of a tougher project. It's not make a creation from chocolate, which is super vast. Lots of different options to do in that regard, or based on a cake or something like that. Tea biscuit, a little bit of a tougher project. So when I was thinking about what I was going to do today, I'll tell you what I was going to do, not yet though, but I looked at that. It was a little bit challenging. So hopefully help you with some ideas for that today. The dessert must include a tea sweet biscuit preparation. Minimum 1 fruit-based sauce. So today I did a coulis, so you could do a compote, you could do a bit of an emulsion, you could do all sorts of stuff. And then one minimum flavored chantilly cream, which is basically whipped cream flavored with vanilla, and 1 functional edible garnish. and today I just did a simple chocolate garnish. So again, I wanted to go really, really simple. And here, I'll actually hold this up so I can show you my menu today. Hopefully we can read that. I can also get Skills to send, well, perfect. So my menu today, I'm doing a stuffed chicken supreme, a chorizo and aged white cheddar stuffed chicken supreme with butternut squash puree, sauteed glazed carrots, Yukon Gold whipped potatoes. I'm doing a little herbed supreme sauce and fried leeks. So again, for the main course, really, really simple. I'm going to talk about kind of two main preparations that you can do to stuff your chicken. And I'll get into that in a sec without getting too ahead of myself. And then I'm doing a white chocolate cherry pistachio sweet biscuit. I'm filling that with a lime Swiss buttercream, strawberry coulis, vanilla bean chantilly, and a white chocolate garnish. So you'll see I'm going to do a little bit of a plating with that, just kind of show you what I put together. It's a bit of a surprise. I won't show you right now. We'll get to that in a sec. But again, I think I added a really nice kind of variation to that biscuit. And, you know, I would hope that, you know, as teachers, you don't just take my menu, copy and paste it, especially if you come to the Edmonton one, I'll definitely know. And try to get creative with it, right? You know, you can definitely take these ideas with the filled biscuit, with the buttercream, change the flavors, do something different. Absolutely nothing that says you can't do that. But yeah, we definitely want to see, you know, some different things other than what I've put together. So that's the menu that we're going to execute today. Again, most everything, my sides, all of that is ready to go, just for kind of the speed aspect, just to kind of move things along. But I am today we're going to start with the biscuit. I'm going to show you that method, how to get the biscuit together. And then we'll move into the chicken supreme. And then I'll show you the plated entree, followed by the plated dessert. And then we'll answer any sort of questions that anybody has. And that'll bring us to the end. So, awesome. Okay, so to start out first, for the biscuit. So again, we're making the full batch here. So you'll see it's quite a bit of product. So I've got my bread flour there. And my pastry flour. These are pre-scaled out. So obviously your competitor is going to want to get things scaled out before they start mixing. So what you're going to want to do, add all your dry to your sifter. Salt. So I'm just sifting it there. And why we sift it is to help the ingredients mix properly, right? So if you were to just throw this all together, you might have a little section of baking powder in there, right? And it's not going to mix properly. Because once you add your wet to your dry here, your ingredients aren't really going to get incorporated really, really well. I'll just do it on the board, and then I'll just get you to switch up the board after. Sure. Give you that. It's a little bit messy, so. Okay, so all of our dry is. And then I've got my cold butter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cold butter and add it in. This is the part that takes a little bit of time, so you can cut this using a pastry knife. Some competitors might have an actual, I don't know, my mom used to have an actual like butter cutter into the flour in your dry mix. So what you're going to want to do is you want to work that cold butter into your flour. This is going to take a minute or two, but that's okay. Any questions? Yeah? Okay. This is a great time for questions.
So the first question, is there some examples of garnishes you would not want to see?
I mean, I think the key there is functional garnish, right? It's got to be edible. Judges usually, especially at the provincial level, they like to see garnishes that tie into your dish. My fried leeks today doesn't directly tie into my chicken dish. I was looking for something quick and easy, I'll admit. But I mean, as far as, your dessert, tuile garnish, right? Which is the little cookie, the thin, crispy cookie, really, really popular. Chocolate garnish, you can do all sorts of stuff. Chocolate is so versatile as far as shapes and kind of what you can do. So, I mean, I would say the best thing you can do is when you're thinking of garnish, just try to make sure that it ties into your dish. It ties into your plate a little bit of your dish somehow, because a lot of times judges will say, well, this kind of doesn't fit, right? Like, you're not just throwing, chopped parsley on something and that's it, right? Like, they want to see a skill. Hence why I am doing a little chopped parsley just for green, but I've got the fried leek, so it is demonstrating a skill. I think that's really what the judges want to see. Yeah, good question.
Was wondering if the nut product will be shelled or unshelled?
I think unshelled, for Edmonton anyways. Really, it all depends on the regional. If you're like, I use pistachio, I'm going to bring shelled pistachio. That's just what I have. So most nuts, I think, should be shelled or raw. Yeah, whole, but it should be not in the shell. Yeah. Yeah, but again, depends on the region.
Perfect.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and then again, most of the nuts, that's a great point, Alyssa, is that most of the nuts will be untoasted. So for my pistachios today, I gave them a quick toast in a pan before I blitzed them in the food processor. And yeah. And then I'll show you how I applied them to my biscuit. It's a surprise though. It's a surprise. Got to have some form of mystery, right? Can't just be all at the beginning. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're cutting this butter into our flour. And so for biscuits, the recipe does say you want to cut it in almost to the consistency of coarse cornmeal. Because what will happen is if you've got big chunks of butter, as your biscuit bakes, those butter pockets, which are tasty, but those butter pockets will cause your biscuit not to rise nice and even. And then you'll have your biscuit basically on the bake sheet cooking, in a little bit of butter, right? So, as chefs, we love butter, but it's got to be worked in properly. So this is the time this is a little bit time consuming, and also why you want cold butter. So you really want your butter cold, because as I'm working it with my fingers here, it does warm up. But by the time I get this incorporated, I'll be adding my liquid and then I'll show you. So this, I did not add my cherries. I've pre-made my biscuits. If you're going to add any sort of dried fruit, chocolate, anything like that, you're going to want to add that right before you add your liquid, and then just kind of mix it in. The key to biscuits is that you don't over mix it. You don't overwork it. Because if you overmix your dough, it's not going to get the nice flaky layers, which is what you're looking for a nice light biscuit. So I told you this was going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Any other questions? Is there an ingredient question? So this is straight unsalted butter, but I believe shortening is on the par stock, so you can use shortening. Totally up to you. I use butter for the flavor, right? That's why most chefs use butter, most cooks, is for the flavor. I think it obviously tastes better. shortening, you may end up with a little bit of a flakier, kind of airier product. But again, the flavor isn't as nice. So, who doesn't like butter, honestly? Unless you're lactose intolerant, right? Okay, so we're getting really close. Probably like, thank goodness. Chef's taking a long time here. Again, I find using my fingers is the best way because I can feel the texture. If you're using a cutter, it's a little bit tougher to kind of tell kind of where you're at. Because you don't want big chunks. I'm not actually baking this today, so even if I do leave big chunks, no one will know. But in the competition setting, you definitely want to make sure your competitor is working in all of that fat. And with this being one of your main components in this regional, practice, practice, practice. So definitely make sure that your competitor is practicing, the biscuits over and over again, so that that repetition will help them. Because I guarantee, the first time you try it with them, they're going to overwork the dough, or they're not going to cut in their fat enough, right? So practice, practice, practice. Get it down so that your competitor feels super comfortable, because you're not there with them on competition day. So they've got to feel super comfortable with the texture of the dough, and just help them out with that. Okay. I'm going to speed things up. I'm going to add my liquid. I probably could have cut it a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it on camera. So you can see most of the butter is kind of incorporated. Coarse cornmeal. It's probably a little big still, but for our intents and purposes today, this will still form up nice. Okay. So what you're going to do, you're going to add in your milk. Again, if I was going to add in any sort of like dried fruit or anything like that, I would add it in now so that we don't over mix it. It's going to seem really wet at first, and then it's going to kind of start to come together. As flour hydrates, it takes a minute or two. If you ever make pancake batter, it takes a minute or two before it really starts to get to that full thickness, right? Now, I'm going to tell you, your recipe in that package, it says to knead it. What does it say in there, Alyssa? I think it says to knead it a few times. I barely knead it. I bring it together. What does it say there?
Mix until ingredients are just combined.
Yeah.
And soft toast forms. Do not overmix.
But then it talks about folding. Yeah.
On the bench, knead, let
Yeah.
everything else work in half, rotate, and increase.
You'll see here in a sec. I don't really do that. I'm going to tell you. And my biscuits before turned out really nice. So once we're kind of at this point where it's still not fully together, that's when I like to get it onto my bench or a cutting board, just for ease of cleanup. And it should be really flaky, right? Like if it seems dry, I'm actually going to take these off. So we don't want to work it too much, but just so it comes together. And also, when I'm rolling this out, I don't like a ton of extra flour either, because it will dry out. Can I get a little extra flour? Yeah. I don't think I have any. There's probably a bin. I think there's a bin over at the table. So again, as you're rolling it out, it's okay for it not to be fully together. Thanks. So again, your recipe talked about kneading how many times? Too many. Too many. Yeah. I think it's too much. Good to have a scraper. just so it doesn't stick on you. And you're going to play with this with your competitor as far as how big you want your biscuit, how thick you want it, right? Like I could tell you, you know, a standard, if you want to probably go about 1/2 inch, but that doesn't yield necessarily that high of a biscuit. I'll show you mine. So that was just over 1/2 inch, okay? So if you want it a little bit taller, you can definitely do it a little bit taller than that, but that was a little over 1/2 inch. So look at how much dough that made, right? It made an absolute ton. Pick your size, so your competitor's gonna come with their own cutters, so ring cutters. I'll show you about how thick I went. Yeah, it's about 1/2 inch. Yeah, so I went about 1/2 inch, okay? So what you should still see, a little bit of kind of flaky layer in there, which means that's gonna rise up. And you will see a little bit of butter in your dough. That's okay. Don't think because you're seeing butter, you didn't break it up. I kind of rushed mine a little bit. I probably could have broken up that cold butter a little bit more. So then you're going to cut out your biscuits. You're going to lay them out onto a bake sheet with parchment, and you're going to have your preheated oven at 425 Fahrenheit. It's about a 15-minute bake, give or take. You don't want them dry, so we want nice golden brown. And I already showed you. So it's a nice golden brown, not too dark on the bottom. And again, I put dried cherries in mine, okay? So that's the finished product there. Should be light and airy. If I kind of open it up, it's flaky, it's light, it's airy. Really, really nice. That's what you're looking for. Okay. Any questions specifically about the biscuit? Sure. Do you have an extra cutting board? Okay. Perfect. I'm just going to wash up real quick. Yep.
They're asking, so you're not looking for a smooth top with the biscuit?
You're never going to get a smooth top on a biscuit. It's always going to be, you know, a little bit flaky, and it depends how much you cut in that fat, right? You could probably get it, you know, smoother than maybe what I've got here, but I'll show you what I did. So I kind of covered my top. I don't know if you can see that really well. Okay, so I dipped it in white chocolate, and then I covered this side with pistachio. So that's where my pistachio comes in with the white chocolate. So it kind of covers that top. And then I'm going to fill it with that buttercream, okay? So again, you know, different ways that you can kind of not hide that per se, but, you know, a different option to kind of make that top. Dipping it in chocolate. Trying to think of some other things maybe you could do with that top, but yeah, it's very hard to get a smooth top on a biscuit. Because if you need that biscuit dough more, yes, it might be smoother, but again, you're probably going to overwork it, and you won't get that nice rising. Okay, switch gears actually. All right, so we're going to talk chicken now. And then once the chicken's cooking, I'll talk about my sauce. Okay. So what your competitor's going to be getting, and I already cleaned up, this one up, are chicken supremes. So what is this chicken supreme? I know I've had some questions in the past. So basically it's the chicken breast with the wing bone attached. Okay, so that's the wing bone. You see here the bone itself is nicely cleaned. That's called Frenched. Okay. A couple notes about the Frenching that I'll point out here. So do you see how the Frenched bone is nice and round? It doesn't have a sharp, jagged edge, hasn't been cut off, because there's a knuckle joint at the end. So if they take their knife and they just clean on the outside of that knuckle joint, you should be able to get a nice cleaned Frenched wing bone, okay? And that's for presentation, all right? I will talk about a couple other options that I'm not demoing today that I know we'll probably see on a regional level and for sure a provincial level, is doing more like a stuffed chicken roulade. So what you would do is you would take your chicken breast, you would take and cut the bone off. So you'd basically be left with just a chicken breast with the skin on. You'd take that skin off. You would take the breast of chicken, pound it out a little bit so that it's a little bit flatter and more even all the way through. You'd take your filling through the middle, you'd roll it. Okay, you'd roll it, then you'd put your skin on the outside and roll that in saran wrap. This is definitely a little more technical. I'm sure, again, we'll see some competitors doing that. From there, they would probably poach that chicken roulade and then sear it in a pan after. Again, a lot more kind of steps leading up to that. Most competitors on a regional level, I can probably say, will see, the way I'm going to be stuffing it here. But again, that's not to say that one way is better or, better than the other. Definitely all depends on, the competitor's, skill level and those types of things, whether that's something you want to do. But I guarantee that's what you'll see. That presentation with the roulade will definitely be a little more modern, a little more contemporary than what I'm going to show you. But again, if you cook and stuff a beautiful chicken breast just like the way I'm doing, your competitor executes that, the sides are all put together nicely, seasoned, flavors, all of that. We've seen simple beat out super complex, maybe because it's missing flavor things or things aren't cooked properly, right? So as long as you make a nice, pretty, clean dish that tastes really good, there's nothing saying that one is going to beat out the other, okay? Okay, so I'll just kind of put together my filling first, really, really simple. So I've got some of this dried chorizo, and I'm just going to cut it up just to make it a little bit more. This stuff's a little tougher to cut because it's dried, so it's a dry cured. Yeah.
A question in regards to the chicken supreme.
Yeah.
Breast there. What size will be given? Is this something that's going to vary depending on the region?
That will vary based on the region. This is even a little big than what I'd like to see because of the size constraints on the total plated dish right here. So I'm probably going to be trying to get them like 5-ounce chicken breasts. And again, if we were to look at like total weight of the plate, it's cooked weight. So as you cook it, you're going to lose some of that. It's not like pre-cooked weight. So just to kind of touch on that real quick. So your main course should be between 250 grams to 300 grams. I know a lot of you might say, wow, that doesn't seem like very much. I kind of broke it down like this. A 5-ounce chicken breast, even if it's stuffed, after cooking, maybe about 140 grams, 80 grams of veg, 80 grams of starch, a little bit of sauce. That right there brings us to about 300. So you got to be really, really close. And because you're doing a stuffed chicken breast, it's not like you could just slice some of the chicken breast and only serve some of it. Hence why I guess the roulade method that I just talked about might work really well for portion control, because you can just cut some nice cylinders of chicken, the stuffed chicken, and figure that out. As far as your plating weight, if in competition we think a plate is super over or super under, we have definitely been known to throw that plate on a scale just to kind of double check. The problem with that is we have to pre-weigh plates. All the plates, doesn't matter where you're getting your plate from, they all weigh different, and we weighed them all out last provincials. So we actually had a variance, and we had a sticker on the bottom of each plate showing the weight in case we had to weigh a plate. Anyways, from a regional standpoint, visually you can kind of tell we're not really weighing plates because we usually have 22 competitors. It's quite a few, or 18, I think. Sorry for my regional, but we basically were looking at it visually and we're saying, okay, does this plate look big? Does it look small? And then you'll see with the amount that I'm going to put on it, probably going to be pretty close to that 300. But yeah, I would just say do your best to kind of gauge it. And honestly, when you're practicing, throw your plate on a scale, right? If you're unsure, just how heavy it is, throw it on a scale and see where it's at. So again, for the ease of today, I'm not adding a ton to this, but if I'm doing chorizo and white cheddar, maybe I'm adding a herb. Maybe it's fresh thyme. I don't know. Maybe it's something else. I'm just trying to keep the stuffing really, really simple today. But the cheddar smells really good, as does the chorizo. So, okay, now to get the chicken ready. So what you're going to want, if you're stuffing it this way, is a boning knife. So what you're going to do, you're going to look at your Frenched chicken, okay? And we want to try to hide where we're stuffing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the inside. It's a little harder to see. So right near the bone, I'm going to go on the inside here. And what I'm going to do, just take my boning knife and I'm going to insert it in without cutting through. And I'm going to slide that knife through the inside of the breast, just kind of opening it up. Take my finger, kind of work that in a little bit. Again, you don't want to puncture the outside or the top. And we don't need a ton of filling in there. Remember, we're under, weight constraints and all those things. You want to do me a favor? You want to turn on the pan? And then we'll show the searing. Then I'm going to take my filling, and remember, once your fingers are in this filling, it is contaminated with chicken, so we want to make sure we're not contaminating. And then we're just going to work that filling into there. Anytime you're using cheese too, you can add a little bit of egg into the filling, which tends to help it coagulate a little bit. What you'll have is you'll see once this cooks, some of the filling might ooze out a little bit. That's okay. You're still going to have some inside. Just try to work it in. We'll get as much as we can in there. So you can kind of see where I cut that little slit in the side, it's kind of hidden, right? So it's not right on top. It's not right in an area that we can see. And then we can get ready to sear this chicken breast. That's contaminated. We'll get rid of that. I'm going to probably finish it right in the pan. I'll give you that. Just give you that. Thank you. Okay. So anytime, again, you're cooking a chicken supreme, you definitely want to keep the skin on, because that is a important piece. Ooh, she gets hot fast. That's okay. This is an induction burner, so it goes from 0 to hero in no time. You're going to be cooking for our regional in Edmonton on the wonderful gas ranges. So a little bit easier, I find. I teach meat, poultry, and seafood to first semesters, and searing and temperature control are probably some of the most important things that I try to teach them right off the bat. So you want a nice hot pan when you're starting to sear it, and just a minimal amount of oil. A lot of times people will put too much oil in there, and then the oil just burns. So we'll season that up. We'll just try to get a little bit of nice color on top of that chicken supreme. Okay, so I've got nice, beautiful golden brown. We'll flip that over. And then as soon as you flip, I try to tell my students, a lot of times they'll be like, well, should we transfer this to a different pan or something? Why would we slow down the cooking? You got a nice hot pan, cook it in that hot pan. We transfer this to a cold bake sheet, it's going to take even longer to cook. So we're going to fire that in the oven. They're going to have to make velouté. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the sauce right now. So that's a good segue. Could I get the velouté? You can just slide that right on the back. It's going to be hot enough. Okay. Okay, so the velouté. So I pre-made my velouté. So again, basically just taking a little bit of clarified butter, sautéing some white mirepoix. So what is white mirepoix? Onions, celery, that's probably maybe leek-ins. You're going to saute that a little bit in the clarified butter. You're going to add your flour. You're going to lightly cook that, not too long. And then you're going to add your stock, and then you're going to cook that and simmer that. And when we're cooking our velouté, which is again a mother sauce, we want to cook out our flour. So we want to cook it out long enough to cook out our flour, 15, 20 minutes at least. My variation today is just a little bit of a supreme sauce. So with the supreme, we take our velouté. Can I get a little bit of that stock? Thanks. It says reduce it down by about 2/3. For today, just because we're waiting for our chicken supreme, I'm not going to reduce it down that long. I'm just going to heat it up. Juice. Cream. So some velouté derivatives call for cream. So when we add cream to a hot sauce, we don't want to just pour that cold cream right into our hot sauce. Otherwise it can split and will curdle the cream essentially. So what we want to do is temper our cream, which you've probably done that with a lot of like dessert recipes that call for tempered cream. So we take a little bit of cream, I put it in. I've got my hot velouté, which I pre-made. Sorry, just follow the steps with the velouté. Once you've got all your white mirepoix in there, you're sautéing it, you've thickened it, you're going to want to strain out that white mirepoix. And then so you're left with just a nice smooth sauce. So then I'm going to add some of my hot sauce to my cream. So now my cream feels warm. Now I can add that in. And obviously, if your competitor is working, use your spatula. I stress that in class. Don't waste anything. So basically, it's a beautiful kind of chicken cream sauce is essentially what a supreme is. Okay, so I've got my cream in there. We're just going to bring that to a simmer. If you need it to check. I wouldn't check it yet. It's probably not ready. Yeah, all good. Okay. And then the finish to this sauce, very, very classical French. We whisk in a little bit of cold butter and a little bit of lemon juice. And then we'll adjust our seasoning. Like I said, you could do herbs, you could add mushrooms, you could saute shallots, you could use brandy, well, for the provincial, not for the regional, because there's no alcohol. But you could use brandy for the provincial and do like a brandy, cream sauce or anything like that. Lots of different options. And just have a look in the PC. There's so many velouté derivative sauces there. Lots to look at. All right, so we've brought it up to a simmer. I'm pretty happy with my consistency. For sauce consistency, what you're looking for is you want it to coat the back of a spoon. Okay, so it should kind of fall off the spoon without, but still just barely coat it, right? Give it a little taste. Seasoning. Pinch of salt. For this, because it's a very classical sauce, we use white pepper. Some chefs love it, some don't. I think for the visual aspect of not having big clumps of, or big pieces, sorry, of black pepper, this will just make the sauce plate a little bit nicer, and you'll see that at the end. So when we whisk in cold butter to a sauce, we always want to take it off the heat. Can add a few pieces at a time, and we want to whisk. If you stop whisking, the butter won't emulsify into your sauce. Basically separate. almost like you're making a bit of a butter sauce, but not really, because a butter sauce is basically just a reduction mounted with butter. So a vinegar reduction, a wine reduction mounted with butter. And that is a little bit tougher to kind of execute. Okay, so I've got this beautiful sauce. If you see it, it's got a nice shine to it, hence from the butter. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of, don't squirt myself. Jeez. Lemon juice to finish. Check my seasoning. Beautiful. Seasoned nice. Nice flavor. It's rich. It's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so we're gonna check on our chicken. We're gonna get ready to plate our entree here, but I'm gonna let that chicken rest when it does come out. I can almost work backwards and plate my dessert first. How's it doing? You know what? I'm going to work backwards. We're going to plate the dessert, because then we won't be waiting. We'll just keep chucking. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
Is there celery available as well, or only celery roots?
Oh, it's not showing celery.
Just as celery.
Yeah, celery root's very different. Celery was probably missed, so I would say just if you want to bring in celery to the regionals, or like if the regional directors want to put celery in there, it should be in there. Celery and yellow onions. I believe there's yellow onions. Yeah, there is. Yeah, that can be just a quick probably email that, yeah. There'll be celery at the Edmonton Regional, so don't worry about that. Okay. Yeah, I guess we missed it. Okay, so the dessert. Okay, so what I did is I made my my Swiss buttercream, and I'm going to fill my Now, really, when we're looking at plating, I mean, I guess there are a few rules, you know, you want to follow, but the biggest thing is I try to like to have, you know, some decent space around it. So I want to have some decent space around what I'm plating, just again for presentation. And also, the second part, fingerprints. Even if your competitor gloves up, you're still going to get the competitor putting dirty marks on your plate. So really, really be sure your competitor should handle the plate from the bottom, okay? And then I didn't even really think of anything that I was going to do, you know, as a predetermined. So I'm just going to play a little bit. A little bit of a flood. listen.
150 for the time? 150.
Pretty close. We'll pull it soon. What's that?
I mean, a little plate white if you need.
Oh, amazing. So I can rework maybe how that is. You can do, dots somewhere else. Again, you could do lines, you could do a smear. There we go, there's the camera. Hopefully we get a good shot of that. So I've got all the components that the project is asking for. I've got my fruit sauce, which is a strawberry coulis. I've got my filled biscuit, which is topped with white chocolate and pistachio just to add some flair. It's filled with the Swiss buttercream, which is a little more technical. And then I've got my my beautiful chantilly cream. So great option, great idea. Yeah, there we go. Dessert was easy. Any questions specifically about dessert and plating? Couple things you want to note, like it's got a little bit of height to it. It's not all flat. I see lots of the white. So, definitely think about that. Maybe if I'm critiquing even my own plate, maybe if I did some black, if I had more time, some blackberry coulis, I would kind of, do some blackberry coulis dots just for some other, some other color contrast on there. Yeah, like I said, lots of different things. This was just an idea I came up with regards to topping it with the white chocolate and the pistachio, just to kind of add some flair to it. So have fun with it. Again, so many options you can do with your competitors. Talk about what they want to do. What kind of flavors would they want to see, right? We want to let the competitors have some creative input, and most have some good ideas about maybe some flavors that they want to incorporate. So there we go. Okay.
Jason, sorry, one
Yeah.
quick question about dessert.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on the term functional garnish?
Yeah. Functional. Edible, looks nice, enhances the dish. Yeah, great example. The dreaded mint leaf, right? If you've got mint in your dessert, maybe it's a chopped little chiffonade of mint, right? Nobody really wants to eat a whole mint leaf, but a little chiffonade or a little fine chop of mint might enhance it if you've got mint in another component. I wanted to do white chocolate because, again, it ties into another white chocolate component with the top of the biscuit. So, I mean, just think about it critically, right? But I think the mint leaf is the worst. It's like, the big gooseberry, which we don't even have available, but the big gooseberry or, the big mint leaf, it's a standard fare if you go to like Kelsey's or something like that for dessert. But for this and culinary, right, we want to elevate our garnish and show a little bit of skill. In order to get, so great segue to that, but in order to get the chocolate garnish to set, I had to temper the chocolate. What does that mean? We heat the callets to about 110, 115 Fahrenheit over a double boiler or a water bath. And then you can do two methods. You can do the tabling method, where you're just kind of working the chocolate on a table. A little tougher to do in competition. So we do the seeding method, which is just adding some callets, like the little pellets of the chocolate, the callets, back in to lower the temp slowly to about 85. So if you don't temper it, the chocolate stays soft. Okay, so to be able to execute that, as a judge, I look at that and I go, okay, that's a great skill. I know they tempered it. I could have made that look a little nicer. I was just, again, doing quick things here, but it shows a skill. Because as a chef, I know, okay, well, in order to do a hard chocolate garnish or to make the top of that chocolate set on top of that biscuit, it needs to be properly tempered. So you're demonstrating that, right? So yeah, good question. Okay, let's plate this entree. Chicken just came out. We'll give it an extra sec. Get rid of my biscuits. still hot? Lots didn't ooze out. That's good. Kind of stayed in. Okay. So as far as plating your entree, I mean, same principles apply. We want to put things kind of in a thoughtful manner. My potatoes aren't super light and whipped anymore because I did make them ahead of time. So forgive me for that, but you'll get a good idea here. Yeah, they're not. Now, some competitors might want to pipe out their potato. Maybe it's rosettes of potato and then the chicken in the middle. I'm just kind of going to do a bit of a classic plating here, you know, with the starch. But yeah, lots of different options. You're good, you're good. See, greasy fingers. I did it to myself. So it's that easy. You touch the plate, and once you get some fingerprints on there, it's really, really tough to get your plate clean again. So even with gloves. Okay, so when we're cutting this, I'll show you kind of a way that we want to cut it. So I want to kind of go on an angle so that I can kind of prop it all up, and you'll see in a sec. So I kind of cut across. Look at that beautiful stuffing, and it all stayed in there, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to prop that up on there so we can visually see the stuffing. Now, I think one of the big mistakes competitors make is they look at their sauce and they go, okay, I'm going to take my sauce and I'm going to cascade it over the top of that chicken breast. What are we going to lose out on then? The beautiful searing that we've done and demonstrating the wonderful cook that we've done there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my sauce, kind of flood down on the bottom. Oh, yeah. Contemporary, woo! And that's the nerve-wracking part, right? Is where you put your garnish, because the plate's got to be run to the table. So I might have a little more potato out the back so I can kind of prop that up. That's okay. There we go. Contemporary, simple. We've checked all the boxes in the project. And, you know, it all comes down to, if I were to see a plate like this, if I'm a judge, I think it's nice and clean. I'm visually looking at the sear on the chicken, the glaze on the veg, consistency of the puree. I've got 2 vegetable preps, 1 starch. I've got my velouté derivative, and I've got my stuffed chicken breast. So you can check off all those boxes, because you don't want to miss a component and lose out on marks. So there we go. Now I guess I'll open up the floor if there's any general questions about the project, anything that we haven't answered yet, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, for sure. Feel free to, you can email Becky Peterson at Skills if you've got anything. If she can't answer, she forwards it directly on to me. And yeah, that's all good. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope this was helpful and informative. And we're looking forward to, I know we're looking forward to our Edmonton Regional on April 5th, and looking forward to seeing what the competitors bring. So thanks so much for joining us.